Hello, my happy shiny puppies. This is Melody Fletcher, and I teach the law of attraction to highly intellectual people just like you in a way that actually makes some freaking sense. Okay, so for today's video, I thought I would share with you what I learned from a conversation I had just a few weeks ago over the holidays. I was talking to a family member who is a total muggle. And that's not, it's not a derogatory term. For those of you who are Harry Potter fans, you know that muggles are those who don't know anything about magic or don't have magic. And so it's not an entirely accurate term because it implies that there are people who are, magical and people who are not, and we are all magical beings. But it's people who don't understand this stuff, who don't understand the magic, so to speak, who don't understand their power. And to whom this stuff might seem like magic or like fairy tales or like myth, because they haven't yet, seen it as a kind of technology. And they don't necessarily need to. Everybody comes to this in their own way. But if this is the way that you resonate with this information, then it can be a little bit frustrating when people ask you about what you're doing and you're trying to live your life and you're trying to go through your, day sort of focusing on what you're focusing on and approaching things in the perspective that you have found, which is not a fear-based perspective. And they want to come in there with their fear-based perspective. And you're trying to explain to them, why you believe what you believe and what it is that you believe. But they're just, you're having a trouble sort of bridging that gap between where they are and where you are. And then you might feel tempted to lie. You might feel tempted to explain it in a way that isn't actually your truth, but you're kind of trying to placate them or make them feel a little bit more comfortable. And you might not like that. And so let me share with you what I did in that situation, the words that I found in that situation, because oftentimes I just connect with the energy and I let the words flow. And then I pay attention to what came out. And then I share that with my clients and go, well, here's something you could say that helps them get into that energetic state. Okay, so I was talking to a family member who's a total muggle. And yeah, I mean, he's known me for years and years and years. And it sort of occurred to him that he has no idea what I do for a living, but he sees me sort of becoming more and more successful. And so, the question came up. It's like, what is this thing that you teach? And I couldn't put it into the words of, me talking to somebody who is really into personal development or somebody who's into energy work. Had to stay away from energy work. And I found myself really kind of going back to a really, really general place. Because it didn't matter to me that he agreed with me. And it didn't matter to me that he really understood the nitty-gritty of what I was doing. But it mattered to me that I spoke my truth. And it mattered to me that what I said would be heard. It didn't matter to me that it had to be super detailed or super deep, but I wanted what I said to not fall on deaf ears, to be heard. So I wanted to find a way to convey this information in a way that it would be heard and it would be accepted, and not necessarily to him finding out more, because if it doesn't resonate with him, that's not an outcome that I'm seeking. And so here's what came out. So I started talking about the fact that since the beginning of time, humans have tried to make sense of why things happen and who we are and how we fit into this grand design. And we've come up with all kinds of theories, and all of them, were probably valid for some time. And this is another way of doing that. It is another philosophy. It is another belief system that allows us to make sense of the world, and allows us to make sense of who we are and how we fit into this world. And what I said to my family member was, it is a belief system that I choose, because all belief systems are choices. That was a little bit challenging. We got there. It is a belief system that I choose because it's a belief system that really, really helps me. And I've seen it help, thousands of other people. But most importantly, I choose it because it helps me, and it has helped me make great changes in my life. And also a lot of other people's lives. And as long as it continues to help me, I will continue to go with it. And if it stops helping me, then I can, look for another belief system, another philosophy. It can evolve into something else. So the important thing to me, whereas in the past, I might have just been, you know what, I'm a coach. I coach people. I help them. Let's leave it at that. You don't need to know exactly what I do, It's become really clear to me in the last couple of months that it is really time to own this, even around the Muggles. But there's a way to own it. You don't have to talk to them about NRG necessarily. You don't have to, but we do really have to speak our truth, because it is time that we no longer apologize for our weirdness. No matter what your weirdness is, no matter what your freakiness is, it's time to no longer apologize for it. It's time to, I see the world as a bunch of people who are trying to pressure themselves into boxes. And those boxes are very limiting, but they're also safe. And this is who I am. And this is what it means to be who I am. And it's a very sort of clear label, and I'm never going to deviate from that. And so there's all these boxes. And there are some of us who don't live in the boxes, who live between the boxes. And we're trying to, kind of come out of your boxes. It's really fun down here. And then everybody can do that in their own time. But, throughout history, those of us between the boxes have had to apologize and hide and try to conform and pretend like we were in some boxes that we really weren't in. And it's time to stop doing that. It's time to stop pretending. It's time to stop apologizing. It's time to have, Mardi Gras between the boxes, and whoever wants to join can join. You're going to notice that more and more and more as 2018 unfolds. That you're going to be challenged. I see it with my clients. I see it with myself. We're all going to be challenged more and more to speak our truth. Now, you can find a way to do that that doesn't have to trigger everybody around you, but you have to speak your truth. You have to own it. I am doing this. I believe this. I'm choosing this. And this is how I'm stepping out into the world. So when somebody comes to you and wants to pull you into a fear-based perspective, aren't you worried that you're not going to make enough money if you quit your job and do this thing that you love to do? Or aren't you worried that, you're never going to find a man if you don't lower your standards? Or aren't you worried, blah, 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 insert crap here. That we don't just go, oh gosh, maybe I'm a little bit worried, or we try to placate them. We say, no, I'm not worried. I choose to not be worried. I choose to focus on me getting what I want, because I don't think it's impossible for me to get what I want. And, you don't have to be that confrontational about it, but inside your head, you want to have that conversation, and then you can be a little bit softer, perhaps, if appropriate, with your friend or family member. But don't back down from the truth. Don't back down from your truth. And figure out what's important to you as you're sharing. For me, again, it was important that what I said was heard, but it wasn't important that I express everything that I am and everything that I teach to this person in nitty-gritty detail, and that he understand me, perfectly. That wasn't important. But it was important that I spoke my truth. And so when people care about you and they're worried about you and they're worried that you might not make it with this new philosophy, the thing that you want to focus on is that you're all right, that you know what you're doing, that you're doing this consciously and deliberately, and that you're not going into things blindly. You're not completely delusional, because usually what your family just wants to know is that you're going to be okay. Yeah. When you're talking to people who are asking you about this philosophy or what you're doing, calling it a philosophy, calling it a belief system, calling it something that you choose because it has helped you. Those are all ways to sort of soften the landing, so that people don't feel like you're triggering them or beating them over the head, or you're trying to convert them. You're not, proselytizing. You're just giving your point of view. You're just saying, this is me. This is why I do this. And you tend to have much better conversation, even with people who don't get this at all and who don't want to get it. You can still have that little bit of a connection, so that, they understand that you're doing this deliberately. And at some point, they might even ask you more because they see that your life is really working. They see that things are happening for you. And maybe you don't have to work so hard to get those things to happen. And then they might ask you more. It's like, what is this thing that you do? Or they might not. But this is how I found talking to Muggles really works and keeps them open-minded, keeps you open-minded. So hopefully that was valuable to you. And if so, then, go ahead and give us a like, comment down below, tell me your own story, tell me what was most valuable to you, and go ahead and share this video with anybody you think it might be helpful for. So until next time, thank you for bringing your light to the world. Happy, shiny, smushy, happy, shiny puppy hugs to all of you. Bye.